Sophia, returning from her night duty at the hospital, decided not to call a cab, but to walk in the park. The weather was beautiful. It had just rained lightly, the wind had dispersed the clouds, and the sun was shining. It felt fresh. She took a bag of apple slices out of her purse, went to the pond and fed the ducklings. She felt calm. Sophia sat down on a bench and closed her eyes. Suddenly, she heard a woman's voice nearby. When she opened her eyes, she saw an old woman sitting next to her, who, judging by her appearance, was about 80 years old. She asked Sophia, "Do you like to watch the ducklings too? The weather is so nice today. I love coming here. Do you like this park too?" Sophia nodded affirmatively. She really liked coming to this park. Here it seemed that life with its hustle and bustle stopped, and it became calm and cozy. "Yes, I often come here after work. It's like I get my strength back," Sophia said, smiling. The old woman smiled back at her. "I'm sorry, please. I don't know your name, but I haven't seen you here before." Although I come here very often, Sophia addressed the old woman. "My name is Margaret." "You're right. I recently moved to this town. My son lives here. I sold my house as my son needed money for his business. Now I live with him," the old lady said sadly. "Did something happen to you?" "Are you okay?" Sophia asked. Margaret suddenly had tears in her eyes, and she nodded affirmatively. Sophia felt very sorry for the old woman. At that moment, it suddenly seemed to her that the old woman was lonely and needed someone to talk to. "You know what, Margaret? I'm very hungry. It's been a long night. I work at a hospital not far from here. I've had patients coming in. I had an unscheduled operation. Would you like to keep me company and have breakfast with me?" Sophia offered. At this point, she couldn't just pick up and leave, leaving Margaret in this state alone. The old woman was embarrassed. She really hadn't eaten since yesterday, but she was embarrassed to tell the girl the truth. Sophia noticed Margaret's confusion and said that she didn't want to eat breakfast alone, and she would like Margaret to join her. There was a cafe nearby in the park that Sophia often went to. It served very good coffee, and the owner baked delicious scones, the smell of which spread through the park. They sat down at a table, and Sophia ordered two coffees and buns. "Could you help me? I don't know anyone in this town, and I don't know the town itself. I don't go anywhere except this park, as it is not far from my son's house." Margaret suddenly asked uncertainly, "Of course. What can I do for you? And please eat the buns. They are very tasty," Sophia replied. The old lady took a bite from the bun, drank her coffee and asked, "Do you know if there is a nursing home in your town? And what documents do you need to get there?" Sophia was amazed at what she heard. "Margaret, what nursing home? You told me you were staying with your son. Why would you need a nursing home?" Sophia asked in surprise. "Yes, I live with my son, but I feel like I am embarrassing him and would like to live in a nursing home," replied the old lady. Sophia smiled and said, "Dear Margaret, all old people think they are embarrassing their children. But believe me, they are not. I live with my mom too. I work a lot, and my mom resents me for not giving her enough time. But my mom doesn't talk about the nursing home. Your son probably works a lot and doesn't talk to you much, and you think it has something to do with you." The old lady smiled and said that Sophia was probably right. They left the cafe and said goodbye. Sophia wished Margaret a better relationship with her son. The old lady thanked Sophia for her warm words and delicious breakfast, and they went their separate ways. 3 days later, when Sophia was at work, she was called to the emergency room. It turned out that an old woman had been admitted who was unconscious. She was found sitting on a bench in the park. At first they thought she was dead, but it turned out that she was alive. People called for medical help. Upon examining her, Sophia recognized her as an acquaintance they had met in the park. It was Margaret. Sophia performed all the necessary medical manipulations, and the old woman regained consciousness. When she saw Sophia, she was overjoyed. Sophia was glad that Margaret had come to her senses. She administered treatment and moved her to the ward. Then, coming to Margaret's room, Sophia asked what had happened to her. The old woman lowered her eyes and remained silent. "Okay, now I'm going to feed you. And you're going to tell me why your blood pressure dropped from hunger. Haven't you eaten in the last 3 days?" Sophia asked Margaret sternly. "Why isn't your son coming? What's going on with you two?" "I may have to go to your house myself," Sophia continued. But Margaret remained silent. So Sophia went home from work and went to the address where Margaret lived. She rang the doorbell, and a few minutes later she was answered. Standing on the doorstep was a man in a drunken state. Sophia said hello to him and told him that his mother was in the hospital and why he was not coming, as she needed his support right now. The man was very rude and chased Sophia away. Sophia, ignoring the man's rudeness, demanded that he come to her mother. She was determined to help Margaret by all means. After all, she knew the old lady needed support and care. But he closed the door in front of her and wouldn't listen to her. Later she learned that Margaret's son had been arrested for drunkenness and disorderly conduct. Sophia told her mother about the situation, who suggested that Margaret could stay at their house for the first time if she agreed. When Margaret recovered, Sophia told her about her plans. The old lady was grateful to Sophia and her mother for their care and support. She agreed to move into their home. Sophia helped Margaret with the move. Margaret's life took on a new meaning. She was grateful to fate for meeting Sophia by chance in the park. Margaret's son, thanks to the support of Sophia and her mom, was able to overcome his addiction. He was able to get his job and began to take care of his mother the way she deserved. Sophia and her mom continued to support Margaret even when she went to live with her son. They visited her often, walking together in the park where they had first met. One day when Sophia and her mom came to visit Margaret, they saw how happy she was. She was surrounded by the love and care of her son and the new friends she had made in Sophia and her mom. Sophia smiled as she realized that together they had all been able to make a difference in Margaret's life. Although life can sometimes be difficult and full of surprises, it is important to remember that there are always people who are willing to lend a helping hand. It is people like Sophia and her mom that make this world a better place. Sometimes small actions can have a big impact on the lives of others. Whether it's support in a time of need, a kind word, or just being present, people need to believe that everyone is putting something of value into this world. Experiencing and realizing how important it is to be there for someone encourages us to help others. After all, even a small lamp can shed light in the darkness and make the world brighter.